Hi guys, it's Uga and welcome back to another video, and today I'll bring you my review for MadHoney by Jodi Picoult and Jennifer Boylan. This is the new release for both authors. As you know, I love Jodi. It's my favorite author. I read everything she writes. I never read anything by Jennifer Boylan, but now I'm very curious about it. So MadHoney is the new release. I'll just clearly say what it's about, and then I'll go for my review spoiler free, and probably I'll go into a little bit of a spoiler section, but I'll put timestamps in the description and also in the screen something that says spoiler, so you can skip till the end of the video. Okay, so MadHoney is a story told in two perspectives. We have Olivia, who runs from an abusive relationship, and she's a beekeeper, so she produces honey, she takes care of the bees, and she has a son named Asher who is dating this girl named Lily. And one day Lily is appeared dead at home with Asher, and Asher is taken into trial as an abusive boyfriend and killer of Lily. And we get the response of Olivia on the future, so how she's dealing with the court scene and everything, and a little bit how she lived with the abusive relationship in her past. But we got chapters from Lily from the day she was killed till the past, so it's in a reverse, a little bit like Jodi did in A Spark of Light, which was told from the present to the past, so in a reverse order. I really enjoy this book. It's like Jodi did it again, and with Jennifer. There are things told in both authors' thank you notes and author's note that really shocked me, because how the book is made. I expected that, but at the same time I was like, yeah, I see, I understand. And I explained this a little bit on the spoiler section. Don't worry, if you are curious, you go there to see what I'm gonna say. But I think this book is very well written. It's very the style of book that I like from Jodi, because something happens and you go to the court, brings one of my favorite characters, that is Jordan McPhee, which is Olivia's brother, but he is also the defense attorney for Peter on the 19 Minutes, and I think he also went to Change of Heart. Jordan McPhee, Jodi. He entered in more one book, The Pact and Salem Falls. So I read Salem Falls and 19 Minutes. Yes, I remember he was in one more. But yeah, so it's a very recurring character, and I was like, okay, Jordan, the name was not different. Then she was like, oh, it's that one. And then when he sees that is the brother of Olivia, I was like, oh my god, this sounds so cool, you know, giving a little more backstory of this character that I really enjoy. I was very happy. But the story is constructive on the both eyes, you know, the eyes of a mother who is dealing with his son, and seeing if her son is actually or not a murder, if he's an abuse like his father was or is, everything about that. And then we see Lily's perspective of how her life is till the day she died, or we're going backwards. And I think that was very interesting. This book will definitely go to a ban list in the US, like 19 Minutes is, because it tackles a lot of difficult topics that people don't want to talk about, that are perfectly fine for any teenager to talk about, to read about. It's nothing that should be ashamed to be on the shelves of a school. I think will bring awareness and to bring a discussion to the table, which I think is very important. So I think it should be and have to be on the shelves, but I probably know that will be banished. Luckily, we don't have that problem here in Portugal. I'm very glad for that. Yeah, I think the story is very well constructed, because the chapter from Lily, I think, was the hardest for me, because at the time I was more interested on the trial part, but while I was learning more about Lily, I started to get captivated by her story, because I was like, what can you add to the story that will make me interested in your chapters? Because Olivia's chapters were the ones that will bring me to the resolution of the story, while Lily's were just normal of what it was past, and I was like, we will see something that is relevant. And when we start seeing, I start having a lot of questions, a lot of who did it, and I start hinting some places totally off the point, like square zero, like I failed completely. But it was a little bit harder for me to get into Lily's than in Olivia chapters, but there's a certain point that I got the grip of Lily and why Lily chapters are important, and are definitely, if Olivia's tackles the abusive relationship that she has and they are hard, Lily has so much to squeeze and juice it, and has a lot of things there. I don't want to display it for spoiler reasons, but it's chapters that sometimes will definitely move you and definitely make you think about it. I have here a couple of quotes that will make sense when I go to the spoiler section that I want to share, because it's very interesting, everything. So this is my warning. I'll go discuss a little bit of a spoiler of the book. If you want, skip to the end. I'll just, praise a little bit of the authors and thank you NetGalley and the publishers. And yeah, if you want, subscribe, like, comment this video, subscribe my channel for more reviews, and I see you guys on my next video, okay? You have 3, 2, 1, let's go into spoilers. So, during the trial, it's disclosure that by a doctor that Lily is transsexual. She's a transsexual woman, like the author Jennifer is. And at the point comes a shock for Olivia, shock for the court, even for the public defender that is prosecuting the case, or the public prosecutor, I don't know how you call it in English. So, but the one that it takes control of it works for the state, and for Jordan. And then it comes the question that defense of Usher. And that point we start having hints of Lily, what it means to be transgender, how she felt, her transition, the family relationship, because at that point you only knew that her father she ran away from her father. I thought it was like more sexual abuse question, and because of the hints that we have when Usher and Lily got into intercourse and she was very afraid, I thought it was more on that point. But then it makes sense, and then we start to learning more about Lily's life, how she felt, how she dealt with that, how she had to change school, how she was outed, how she was used as a flag, how a boy met her because he didn't know she was trans, and change everything we think about it. And then her relationship with Usher, knowing she was trans. I thought it was very well done. I think it lights a lot about transgender rights, transgender equality, everything about it sounds amazing. And there is a part on the book, there is a owner of a music shop where Lily goes, and she's also transgender, and Olivia, trying to understand a little bit more, goes to talk to her. And I think these two quotes really sum up a little bit of the sense. This says, if you want to understand something, you first need to accept the fact of your own ignorance. And then, when you need to talk to people who know more about than you do, people who have just not thought about the facts but live them. I know she has a job and a store to run, and a life that doesn't involve educate me, or that for her I am the best an annoyance, and at worst an audacity imposition from someone privileged. She owes me no time, no answers, no tutorial. This is Olivia thinking about when she's trying to go there and think like she has no reason to teach me. I have to learn by myself, and this is very important. I think it's one of the best things here said. It goes a little bit about she wants to know, she didn't want to know. A lot of here talking about education, about transsexuality and transgender. I really like that. And I think that is one of the reasons it's going to be banned in the US, sadly. But I think it's very, very important, this discussion. I think it was very well written. And one of other spoilers that I knew for the writing style, because I'm used to Jodi writing style, that probably Olivia is going to be written by Jodi and Lily would be by Jennifer, because the writing style was a little bit different. But I think it also was the voice, a younger voice than in the past, maybe like that. But then when I knew she was trans and searching a bit by the authors, it makes sense, a transgender woman writing about a transgender woman makes total sense. And then in the author's notes, when they say like we decided some chapters we have to be written by the other, just like as a challenge, I was like, I couldn't guess it. You know, they were like, I also couldn't guess it by now who wrote who, because it's so well blended and it makes sense. You know, it's written in two voices, but there are two distinct voices, and it makes sense. You know, a little bit like I remember my house rule copies have different fonts for different characters to exemplify there are different people talking and people see different points of view. And I think this difference of speech, of mindset and everything makes sense because there are different characters, but they blend so well which author write which part, that I think it's very difficult to say this is one, this is the other, but I think they did an amazing job. I will conclude here my spoilers and say I'm really excited about this one. Like Wish You Were Here, it was an amazing book. The title, I think, it's funny because they talk about MadHoney, and there's also recipes on the book. So in the end, some recipes with honey. I thought it was very interesting because I actually like to cook with honey, especially to do some sauces. So it's very interesting to know a little bit more recipes. And yeah, I think you learn about beekeeping also. You learn a lot of things in this book. This is a book that it's hard to read. It's another take that Jodi took on domestic violence. She already took one book with that, but she brings again, because I think the book now that she wrote has, I won't be blunt, but I think it has around 20 years or more. Don't want to be but it's around beginning of the 2000s, so in 20 years, and we think like, oh, why do we need to write again about that? Because nothing has changed. Let's be real. Women are still killed by their partners because they are obsessive. Men are also getting killed because their wife is or spouses or whatever are getting obsessed and they kill. And domestic violence is a real problem as violence against other communities. So I think these subjects and these topics have to continue to be written to change mentalities and to trying to make changes, because 20 years have passed, and although things are starting to get better, they're not great and they are not finished. So I really recommend, if you are a Jodi fan, you will love this book. If you're trying to go a little bit on, don't know where to start in Jodi Picoult, I think this is also a great start for you. It's a little bit the formula that I like from the author, you know, like 19 minutes, like House Rules, Salem Falls. It follows the storyteller a little bit different, or the Small Great Things. All it follows more or less the same formula with the court scene, and I really like the court scenes. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. Thank you again, the publisher, the authors, and NetGalley for the arc. I was super excited, you know, when you get an arc for your favorite author is also exciting. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you leave a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you like. I do a lot of reviews for the books that I've read, and yeah, I post videos at least once a week, on Tuesdays, Thursdays, or Sundays, and I'll see you guys there. Okay, bye.